You know what I'm saying? To Sean, I'm here. I'm the co-host. Week was blessed, very productive.
How valuable would this be, sharing this info? But aside from that alone,
I was always told you need therapy. Shut up. That was what my response was.
Police scare me to this day. If I get pulled over, if anything, I'm just making sure that I'm on my P's and my Q's.
welcome back to another episode of He's a Guy podcast. Before we begin anything, remember to please comment, like, and subscribe. This one's a little bit different for you guys today. We have a we have a little situation where we want to get out to you guys, let you guys know that we still keep it real and honest and open. So we have an episode that we feel didn't go the greatest of ways.
Well, I honestly just hate these conversations.
How about you're not God? You're not the judge and
Oh,
executioner.
I think that's such a weird angle to take.
It is.
Like,
it is. It's kind of
really
strong.
weird angle to
You
take.
can't,
Like,
you can't fight against God. Like, okay.
Okay, cool. But
It's
I
okay,
can see
it's
you
okay.
in the bar. Over it, over, and going on.
Me?
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow.
Did you feel offended?
We can't be catching strays just because you guys don't do the work.
Are we gonna move on from this? Or
we want to let you guys know that up front and let you guys know that we are
Learning and
Yeah.
progressive. We're trying to be progressive.
literally, So we're gonna open this up to the room, open it up to you guys, kind of break down that fourth wall, let you guys know where we're gonna have some clips throughout and show you guys what we're talking about, but more or less kind of break down, the growth of who we are and where we're trying to go. So kind of opening that up to the room.
are we doing mental check-ins or we just?
I think this is kind of like a mental
Oh,
check-in,
okay. All right. I like that.
I think so.
Mm.
But just because it's a little different.
Feel you.
So open it up to the room. How do you guys feel about the episode at hand? Welcome back to another installment, another episode of He's a Guy podcast. Today, it's gonna be a good one.
Yes, it will.
What Women Want, Part 1. We can start with Dion. Circle around.
I think there were some good things said. I think there was a huge disconnect in the room. I think that we could have done a better job of kind of hosting our guests in terms of what women want. I know it's obviously easier for us to talk about what men want because we're the
We're men.
guys.
Yeah.
He's a guy.
Yeah.
I think that definitely, I think they said it too. They want us to listen more. I felt like, it was like more of not that it was combative, but it was a lot of back and forth and just, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't we do this? Okay, how come he's not here? How come she's not helping him get to here? You know what I mean? And it's
9 or 8 times out of 10, whatever number you want to put there, a lot of the stuff doesn't have to do with us.
Mm.
Like, not all the time, obviously. I know that there are girls that, flaws and all that stuff. But I mean, like, a lot of the stuff is internal for you guys. So it has nothing to do with the person per se.
definitely.
It's just like where you are
Mhm.
in life sometimes. But it's like, we can't be catching strays just because you guys don't do the work. Like, that's not okay.
I think I said it in the episode that for men and women, we need to coexist for us to get better. And I don't think we kind of channeled that in the episodes.
I just feel like we're better when we do life together, and I just want a partner to do life with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I see marriage.
Yeah.
But what that partnership looks like, I don't know yet. But
Which is a whole nother topic.
that's a whole other topic in itself.
Because partnership in the home, when it comes from men, it's not there. It's not really there.
I didn't hear what you said.
Partnership in the home from men is not really there.
Hmm.
Especially in an era where 50-50 is such a expected thing, and like a lot of us are cool with it actually, but it's like, you want me to do 50-50 and then come home, and then you come home and do what? 10%?
Be a mom, be a
20%?
Yeah.
Where's the 50-50 at home?
Again, we're doing this right now to be progressive. I think if we can get comments of people giving their opinions on like what questions women want to be asked, so we could do a better job of hearing the ladies out the same way we were able to get our voices out. I think that's what we need to do.
Actually, going off of that, Tashawn, you made a great point within the episode, and you said men are in these echo chambers, especially when we get onto podcasts where it's just men. There's no real look at what women are I guess, thinking or giving up because we're not women. We're just saying like, yo, if we're gonna have men's perspective on basically what exactly men would like from women, we should definitely have the perspective invited onto the pod and give their thoughts on what, you know, women want. And I thought that was really, really insightful of you, brother. You know what I mean? Because it's important.
Yeah, a bunch of men sitting here in our echo chambers. I don't know if that, I don't know if it's always a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's good to have like a variety of perspective. And obviously like we have women here, and they're not speaking for all women. And we're getting some insight into like what they think, what they see. You know what I mean?
Can you kind of emphasize on what that would look like, especially coming off of this episode and what it looks like?
I think, you know, the goal of this episode was obviously to have women and understand, not that the women are speaking for all women, but like a woman's perspective, right? It's good for us to all sit here and share what we think. But I believe like a big part of our growth has to do with understanding women and women understanding us. And I think we do a decent job of explaining who we are and what we're about as men when we're all together. But to introduce women to that conversation, I thought was so important for our podcast. And like, even though he's a guy, it's still having women on here to help us grow, I think is instrumental to that. I think a big part of the problem with that episode was, I think it's our podcast and it's up to us to lead the conversation and lead the direction of it. And in that, I don't think we did a good job of that. I think we more so let them lead the conversation. And even though we were here to listen, I don't think we got the conversation where we wanted to go, because like questions we ask ourselves every episode is, how does this episode make us better men? Or how does whoever our guest is, how does the theme make us better men? And it's like, and usually we address it from the perspective of things that bother the mandem. Right. And our relationships with women can bother us.
Right.
And it's like, how do we learn from women in order to make us better, and in our own eyes and in their eyes too? And I don't think we ever got there, just because of maybe the line of questioning, the nature of the guest answers, the questions that came from the questions. It became more friction.
Women are very like sneaky cheaters. Like, you never heard that before?
I could hear it, but I haven't heard it. Do you understand?
That's what I'm saying. Like, personally, around you.
I haven't heard it from like.
I've been cheated on.
Really?
Yeah.
Likewise.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of cheating, guys?
I haven't been
Sex.
cheated on.
Like
that
I
know.
That you know of.
You know what I'm saying? That I know of. Good thing you said that. Let me finish.
I found out years later.
Like sex.
Was it sex as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
Entertaining others, like a boundary that you wouldn't like.
Right.
That's what I think cheating is. We have to break down, obviously.
Of course.
And I felt
It's
the energy
different
was
for everybody.
off. So I went through her phone. This was a long time ago. I went through her phone and I saw that she met up with the guy, because I felt her energy was off. But I didn't have any proof. All I know, she met up with him. But then years later she told me. So yes. Women
Nah, but
Why are you laughing?
women,
I want to hear.
Why are you laughing? What's
No, I was listening to the story.
what was funny?
you can't see that's funny. I like the
No, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
She cheated back though. It was like a revenge thing, but doesn't make it
Oh,
better. That changes nothing.
Should have led with that.
That changes nothing.
You should have led.
That changes that. Hold on.
It doesn't change. You're
You
right.
should have-
You're right.
Let me tell you something. Tashawn knows exactly. He knows
You should have led
exactly
that.
why
That was
he's
very,
doing the story.
that was very manipulative. That was very manipulative.
How was
You
it?
did manipulate the story. But two
I
wrongs
did not.
don't make a
He's
right.
bend the corner right now.
Stop.
You asked if I had been cheated on. And I said yes.
It's like
Which context?
Context does matter, but you are right. It doesn't.
Two wrongs do not
Oh,
make a
no,
right.
I
But it does make a left.
Story.
So-
once you anyway.
I was about to sing a song like "Can't" because he's canceled.
No. But hear this. If she didn't want to be in the relationship,
She could have left.
she had a choice to leave.
So did you.
I did not want to be in it.
So why'd you cheat?
Hey guys, it's not a tit for
I
tat.
made a mistake.
It's not a tit for
Okay.
tat.
It's
No,
not.
see,
We're not. It's not
they're
about
not-
tit for
they're
tat.
having fun.
Here's
It's not
my
about
thing.
tit for tat.
I'm not an
There are some
advocate.
women like that.
I'm not an advocate for cheating.
No.
Okay. However,
I'll turn left.
some lessons. What did they say? Okay, in Jamaica,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
say those who can't hear must feel.
feel.
Right.
Mm.
So some lessons can only be learned through feeling
How about
what that. Go ahead.
How about you're not God? You're not the judge and executioner.
Oh, So if you're trying to say that like
Um,
there are women who do it spitefully, like bun
That's
for
what I'm saying.
bun, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's not women's job to help men, and then we're like, what do you mean? Are you not gonna help? Like, and we got so stuck in that area, and it was like there was so much more to say from that conversation. I think sometimes we just gotta move on. Like,
What do you have to say about where she's coming from?
No, I just see like the part where she's saying it's not your responsibility, and you shouldn't be a part of it because y'all did it without us. You know what I mean? Women have done a lot of their healing in coming together, and it doesn't involve consulting men or having the conversation with men of what healing looks like for them. So for us to now ask you, I could see why people would be like,
Why?
Right. It's almost like I've gone to therapy. I've created a supportive circle for myself. Like I've addressed my childhood trauma. Like now I gotta help you do it for you. Why?
I see it differently.
Yeah, can I hear?
How do you see it?
Why not? Why don't you help us?
Yeah.
If
that's what you would
If we're
want for us.
intertwined.
Yeah, like
If that's what you would want for us to do.
exactly, and you want to better this man or to better men in general, like you guys asked, who should have taught you, right?
Yeah.
We're not saying you have to teach us,
Yeah.
right? But if
Why
you
would you not
can,
want help? Yeah.
why wouldn't
Of
you wanna
course.
help us?
But
And then
yeah.
hold on, let me finish. And
Yeah.
then you taught me. I healed. I get it. I teach Tashawn.
Mm-hmm.
Tashawn teaches Theon. Theon teaches Steph.
Mhm.
And it goes down the line.
Mhm.
But when you holding all that in and all that information and not helping,
It's
I'm not
progressive.
blaming you.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming you, but I'm just saying you could have made it easier. So
and we got so stuck in that area, and it was like there was so much more to say from that conversation. I think sometimes we just gotta move on. Like if we're not seeing eye to eye on a certain point, it's to move on. And I think also, I don't think we had a chance to get to know them as guests. You know what I mean? Who is Anastasia? Who is Imani? I don't think we took the time to really dive into like who they are.
your brother?
Yeah, I said that.
Uh,
I
your
mentioned
brother,
it earlier.
Let's say his
And even who we are, because they don't really know all of us.
Right.
So I think that disconnect also made it hard to relate to where people were coming from, because we truly didn't take the time to get to know who they were.
We didn't have like no icebreakers or anything.
Yeah.
It was just like straight into it. Like,
Yeah.
all right, what do you think?
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like it for them, like I don't know if maybe they felt attacked
Yeah.
or they felt, and I think too with our line of questioning, it's really important for us when we ask questions to set people up for success.
Mm.
And I think sometimes when we leave the question
important.
too open, they could go anywhere they want with it.
Right.
And it's like we want to set it up a little bit more. So there's like when we think like, what do you guys want from men?
Guys, this is such a crazy question because like there's a long list of everything
what
from
pops up in your
walking at night and feeling safe
Mm-hmm.
to literally like being able to be in a room full of women and flirt and move through the room and they see him as that guy or he's him. But if I'm a woman doing that, now all of a sudden I'm a how?
Yeah.
Like there's double standards for that. There, sexism. Like there's so many things. Like I think once you acknowledge that we literally live in a society
That allows double standards.
that's where we live in a patriarchy, right?
Mhm.
So it's like men run things, they rule things for the most part. Obviously, women were badasses, but like men have set up the system to be the way that it is, and we're all living in it. So it's like there's a lot that men do that women wouldn't get away with, but I personally feel like right now we're at a point where we're seeing a bit of a turning point. I think
I was
personally.
gonna say like double
Mhm.
standards exist definitely on both sides.
Mhm.
And I guess women have come to a point where now they're acknowledging those things and playing up to those things as well.
What does that mean?
The double standards that benefit the women, they are absolutely leaning into.
That might be too broad.
Yeah.
So it's like, what could we do to make that question a little bit tighter so that it sets them up for like a good answer that they could answer, rather than just letting them answer and say whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as we want the conversation to be authentic, we still want to be able to have a direction for it.
Absolutely. Frank, talk to me. I feel like in that episode there, you were also in a bit of am I kind of off in saying that?
I don't think you were off in saying it. When I look back at it, I don't want to blame the guest.
Absolutely.
I don't want to blame us. I don't want to blame anyone. I just think, if somebody comes on here, and everybody should be open-minded to what the person has to say, right? And with that being said, I don't think there was a lot of open-minded to what people had to say. It was more so it's like Tashawn said, what do you think about this? And then the person had their answer, and that was it. And it was like they weren't willing to hear what we had to say, and we weren't willing to hear what they had to say.
So kind of close to
Yeah,
perspective.
so it was kind of like it was shut off, or it was, I'm gonna say this, and this is what I say, and that's how it is. Where it was like, okay, what do you mean by that? Or what could we do to now further your knowledge in that, or make us understand why you think like that?
Mhm.
Where I kind of got the vibe, it was, if I want to be real, it was, I don't care what you guys have to say. This is what I think.
So how do you let us in? How can we be a part of that?
Well, that can show up in many
I
different
don't want to
forms,
be
I
let
think.
in. Don't leave me in. Don't let me into it. Leave me out of it.
I get it.
What you mean?
And I was like, okay, whoa, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna,
It's not a progressive conversation.
you know what I mean? And it's like, because then that's when the back and forth happened.
Right.
All right. So that's what I have to say. I just think that if you come on here, everybody has their own opinion on things, and you can't change people's opinion. But at the same time, I'm gonna respect your opinion, but you're gonna respect mine, and we're gonna try to come to an understanding.
Gotcha. I think that's important because that's all we're trying to do, right? And any topic that we bring up, we're just trying to come to an understanding, a meeting ground, whatever word you like to put there. It's kind of a thing where it's like we're obviously not we're not all going to be knowledgeable in everything. We're trying to learn as we present these things to you guys out there. So
Yeah.
Like, I think even the action and the thought of like, I want you to be a part of this conversation. It's like, why?
but why not?
Like, okay, let me rephrase that. I think I didn't say that right.
Okay.
It's like, you want us to be a part of the conversation, but why is that the focus when approaching this type of healing work?
I don't well, to challenge it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that's exactly the focal point,
Mm.
right? Still, the focal point would be on men's mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and the focus being men, right? But we know that men are into women, right? For the most part, it's one of those things where if that is something a part of our life, we'd still need that part to be involved in healing to become a whole man.
I agree.
So that's essentially what I would assume to be the answer to your question.
Mm-hmm.
But correct me if I'm wrong in what you mean. Like I'm still.
No, like, I hear what I don't. I think it's because, like, yeah, no, I know what you like. I hear what you guys are saying.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think, like, and like, women are taught to be very independent in their healing as well, in a way. Like, not soul independent, but more so like
with other women.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, we don't look to men.
We don't say
to
men come in
and help us. How do we become better?
Yeah,
like,
but I feel like you have the language and the technique.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're ahead of us in that.
Yeah. It's
It's always
true.
been invited.
We know not to.
Like you said,
They-
it's almost like natural. You know that you have this community regardless. right?
Yeah.
And then again, we're told, yo, why you being emotional?
crying.
Stop crying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's our language.
Yeah.
So when it's easier for you to come into our space than us to come into yours, because I don't feel like necessarily, I don't want to say not necessarily, but like we might not be as
versed in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this episode is important, right? To even show you that it's going to be the goods, it's going to be the bads. You're going to see them throughout. So it's important that we had this conversation, right? I think it was kind of mature of us, right? Because taking an episode that we didn't feel like was the best and kind of throwing that thing away, it would have been dishonest in a sense, right? We're not keeping it open and honest the way that we'd like everybody to move on in life after seeing these type of things. We're trying to present ourselves in a light where it's, we're trying to be authentic, as we say. But furthermore, what do you think we could have done better in those things? Like,
before we even go to that,
Yeah.
to add to that, I think like that's a life lesson that we're learning right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because something doesn't go our way doesn't mean that we scrap it. And something that's been I've been seeing a lot lately is like, yo, when you're about to reach the point where you have your breakthrough, a lot of times it's difficult, and we always like, a lot of people just get to that point where they're like, all right, forget this, it's not worth it anymore. But you know what I mean? I think with this episode, our learning lesson is that regardless of what happens, we can still make something out of it. And like you said, we're trying to be progressive here, and we're trying to show people that it's okay to be authentic and make mistakes, and correct them and try to be better.
But I think what a lot of men don't realize, no shade, not to paint everyone with one brush, but healing work takes a lot of energy. A lot of energy and a lot of time, and it's not going to happen overnight if you're actually deconstructing what you've been through as a child, the things that have made you believe, that's work that you do with like a literal therapist, consultant, community group, right? And so,
but going back to the question I had now, how do you think that we can be better next time? That's what I want to ask. Not so much how we can be better, period, but how do we be better next time?
Like, I can't remember one of you guys said it. Knowing the guest, like,
Sean,
like, when we get here, like, usually when we do come in, we have conversations or whatever the case may be. I don't feel like we got to know the guest. Like Sean said, as people. You get what I'm saying? Not just, oh, he's a guy's guest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come in here, have a quick conversation, and be like, oh, I like that you said that, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then, just feel them out a little bit. I don't even think we got to feel them out in a sense where, like, if you're not even on when one of the guests said their name, I thought the whole time the name was E-Money. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And was it E-Money or Imani?
Not E-Money.
Oh, yeah. I said E-Money. I was like, that name's hot,
I mean, people do call me that, but it's Imani.
Imani.
Yeah.
Right. And I know it's funny or whatever the case may be, but at the same time, like, that's not the person's name. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know the person's name until I had to ask again.
Right.
So it's like knowing the guests themselves, just feeling them out a little bit. And I know it's a short time where we're not really going to get to feel them out as much as we like to, but little things like that, just knowing a person in a short period of time, you could figure some things out about the person, right? So that's what I would just say to that.
Okay. You know what's funny? That we mentioned this. It was also, even going away from this question on a tangent. That was a long day. We don't give ourselves credit for that either, right? We shot one before that. Like, Dion, you said you're coming from work. On top of that, Freck, I know you said you had work earlier than that. To Sean, you had a long day. Me, myself, I don't work on Mondays, but I was just geared up. And then when it didn't go the way that I thought it would go, I was now like, well, what the hell, dog? So it's kind of like,
fact, it was super late.
So I think that's important to know as well, to kind of give ourselves some grace on the back end of this and just understand that, we should take some time in between these things and kind of maybe evaluate and separate episodes based off what we got.
We talked about making sure we're setting up the guests for success.
Ourselves as well,
We need to be setting ourselves up for success where we're not like, it's like overkill and we're like, oh my goodness, man. Like, I never want us to get to a point where like, oh, we have to shoot another episode. You know what I mean? Like, I love when we come in here and we have the energy and we're like, all right, we're gonna kill this. You're gonna give these guys a pod today.
Yeah.
We didn't have that before that episode. I
heard Steph didn't give Freck the wink in the gun.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
The wink in the gun was missing. So even though I was excited, I was to begin. Like I said, the direction of the conversation wasn't going.
It was low vibration.
When I wasn't receiving the type of energy that I was trying to give up, now I'm looking at this and like, F this episode.
Like,
my energy was off in this whole thing.
Guess what?
You wouldn't have an enjoyable interview though.
For who?
Oh wow. Okay. I like
I'm
that.
It would have been bad for you.
I'm saying I'm gonna ask my questions. It might be short because you.
I would love to see
questions.
a podcast where it's a room full of women and like we'll do 2 of you at a time.
You don't think we can handle it?
So that's kind of, I guess, going back to now, how we think we could do better next time. Not only just knowing the guests and things like that, because even Tashawn let me know after, it was just kind of like, they didn't even feel like they represented themselves the best. I know, Tashawn, if you want to give more light to that, but for me, I think getting better next time would just be kind of vetting this our questions with guests, like you said, kind of off camera, just giving us a day or something ahead, and kind of giving them the leeway to now lean into some of the questions to be like, yo, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. And kind of even slotting new questions in or leaving questions out altogether, just so we have a more like a better conversation and it's high vibration, But Tashawn, if you could lead in on one of those things you said to me about just how the representation that some of them or that either one of them felt when they gave.
I think, like, it speaks to a lot that's been said. But I also like one thing I want to emphasize that I've heard we do really well, but from what I've heard from guests, is that all the guests and all the viewers can tell we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we love that we can tell that you guys obviously have a strong
Relationships outside
bond
of this,
together.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then when they sit with us, they feel like they're an extension of that. They feel like in that moment, they're also one of our friends too. And on that episode, I don't know if that's the feeling
Mhm.
that the guests got. It just felt like they were just guests. You know what I mean? Like they were just like,
100%.
Growing up, we talked about it on this podcast. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of times we're taught, like, yo, get up, stop crying.
Yeah.
Why are you crying? Why
Women
you,
aren't told that.
No.
You know what I mean? And it comes like, you know what I mean?
Well,
How your parents dealt with you
not always.
was always, it's going to always be different.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had a daughter, I wouldn't deal with her the same way I talk to my son.
Right.
Right? So I think it's just getting to that point.
Yeah.
It's the unlearning is what
Mhm.
essentially we're getting at. So it's not to say that we are looking to women to help cultivate that space,
Mhm.
and that's why
But
we're
I get-
asking of you.
I get what you're saying. Like the
Mhm.
onus shouldn't be on you.
No,
but
it shouldn't.
Again, we're trying
We're
to figure
here.
out how to get
Of course.
and it almost feels
We're
like
here.
we've designed a system that is failing us.
Yes.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? It's like this system that we say like the patriarchy society is based on men,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not serving us anymore. We're the ones committing suicide. We're the ones going to jail. We're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good things happening for men, but it's like it's polarized. Like
Mhm.
yes, men are mostly in the top 1%
Mhm.
and have some of the best jobs and have some of the most yes. But also on the other end, men are also really going through it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it is our job to lead
Yeah, of course.
that change. But we're just saying women,
Mhm.
Have to be a part
we
of
want
it.
women
I
to be
agree.
a part of it.
I agree. 100%.
That's all. I'm not saying it's on women.
I mean, it's part of the reason why we're here.
It didn't feel like they molded into us. It
Right.
just felt like we were tired. They were like, all right, we're here. Like it didn't feel like they molded into be sitting down with the man down.
Right.
Right. So
that was an interview, not a pod.
yeah,
Not a conversation.
you know what I mean? So that's
Important
one.
too.
Two is like, yeah, they didn't feel like they represented themselves in the best way that they could. And I think that was part of it, that their level of comfort. And then I think too, it's like, yes, the questions didn't speak to the nature of who they were.
Mm.
Right. So even like knowing the guest, like Anastasia, for example, or Staasia is a creative artist, singer. What does that mean? How do we ask her questions? Imani's a journalist. So questions are her thing.
Wait, I do want to talk about something. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Have you guys heard about the 4B movement?
What's that?
4B movement or the 4 No's?
No.
So it's a radical feminist movement that originated in South Korea. And it refers to like defining of 4 tenets, or so basically like these 4 like principles, which is like women are not gonna date men, marry men, have sex with men, or have children with men.
Oh, wow.
This is happening in South Korea. It's been happening since like 2019, and it's been growing. There's a lot of like news articles about it, like last year especially, because it was like the height of this 4B movement. And it's basically, yeah, this movement where women are saying no on all fronts.
Mhm.
Dating, children, marriage, no.
Mhm.
And so there's literally like the population in South Korea right now is struggling
Wow.
because women are not having kids. I don't know if you've seen that.
Not to say it's wrong,
Yeah.
but what is that doing?
So what we're seeing
Yeah,
now
what's the goal?
I'm
is
sorry. The way that
that
was
being
asked.
Yeah, like, what's it solving? Yeah.
no, I
No,
like
I just
okay,
I don't,
but
like, what like if you
That's a good question, Juice.
if you have a
No,
Like, you don't got defended.
it's the way you asked it. Like it was very like
if you have a
No,
mission,
no,
it's,
it makes-
you're going after something. What are we
Yeah.
going after?
so it's self-preservation.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she's actually gonna know, like, okay, like, what does this question even mean? Why are you guys asking this question? So it's like she already has like that in her mind about quality of questions. So it's like just knowing that, maybe would have helped us
Curate better.
curate questions, maybe differently, even for both guests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're not speaking from the same perspective.
Yeah, I think that my end point is that
That's all.
in the conversation about men's mental health, there still does have to be a conversation about women's wellness as well. And like, does that what I'm saying making sense? Like in the like, we still need to be mindful of the fact that regardless, we're always asking women to do extra emotional labor that a man isn't necessarily expected to do.
That's why your perspective matters.
Yeah.
yeah.
Having you here today, because I mean, again, a
Mhm.
lot of people are not privy to that information because they're just,
Mhm.
Not even
they're
that
living in the
perspective, yeah.
moment, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't see that.
I think they definitely know. It's just we're taught to push ourselves aside so much for the betterment of men.
Yeah.
So
Facts.
it's there, but it's like that's what she's supposed to do. It's like
Yeah.
I would always say with people who grew up with single mothers, it's like you saw your mom struggle, so you think I have to, and it's like that's not fair. That's not okay. That was your
That could also
first
be a trauma.
superwoman.
I'm not
No,
making
it is.
excuses.
It
could
is
be
a trauma. It's not an
response,
excuse. It's not.
right?
It's a reason. It's not an excuse,
Yeah.
right? But it's about like you knowing that self-awareness. I have a mother wound, or I have this, or I have that, and facing that with audacity to be like, I got to deal with this.
You get too
Knowing that and knowing who they are a bit more would actually allow us to ask questions that fit with their character so that they could answer them in a way that would be super helpful to us, right? Because like even Imani, like it was interesting to hear her tone during the episode, but what's also interesting is like she was the producer of a mental health series with me.
I do think men's mental health is a really important conversation that we should have. Like obviously Tachana and I producing the show that we've like produced.
Mhm.
And then also like I have brothers,
Mhm.
right? So it's like one of my brothers, he has dealt a lot with mental illness, right? So I've seen firsthand how it affects like men, right?
Mhm.
So she obviously cares about men's mental health,
Right.
but it might not have come off that way during the episode.
Right.
But she does care. So does Staasia. Like
Right.
Staasia was at the Movember panel we were all at, asking the most questions about like how can we support men? So they both care about this.
What are men's current frustrations right now with women or?
But it didn't come off that way during the
Right.
episode.
Right.
So it's like we have to ask the question like what went wrong, right? And it's like it's us setting, like Theon was saying, setting ourselves up for success and the guests too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's key. I don't know, man. I feel kind of empty. You know, I mean, the fact that we had such good intentions and great intentions for an episode and it didn't go the way that we wanted. It's unfortunate, you know, to say the very least, but I think us doing this is important, you know. I'm going to keep saying that throughout just to let you guys know that we really, really care in providing you guys a really good product, right? We're not here to waste anybody's time. We value each other's time as well. So it's one of those things where we are coming up here and actually trying to get better, you know? So I'm going to kind of open it up to the room. Any last words or anything that you guys feel like we can go on moving forward, bro? It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I kind of feel empty about it. You guys, I don't know if you guys get to get my sentiment throughout seeing some of the clips, but I just like, again, I just don't like providing a bad content view, you know, to anybody. So
What do you, I would ask a question to the room. I would probably ask like, what did we learn from that episode? From the guests, from, if you had to learn one thing, what would you say you learned?
I would say for myself, I can't speak for you guys, like be a little bit more engaged. And I think I was like thrown off guard with some of the response, some of the questions, just how it was going. And it was like, you know what, I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna sit this one out. Like, you know, I'm gonna take a step back. And because I just felt like it would have turned into an argument instead of a conversation, instead of learning, instead of understanding. So I was like, you know what? Because I know the type of person I am, it might not come off right. So I was like, you know what? Let me just chill out. And that's that. I'm gonna be honest with you, Steph. You said it. He goes, I felt like you took the back. And I did.
that was hard.
I did. I know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I knew what I was doing, and it was like, you know what? And I shouldn't do that. That's one thing I learned. I was like, even the thing that I take away when I say I learned, it was like, even if it's not going my way or if I don't like how something's going, you know, stay engaged. You know, it might actually switch. So it's like, instead of taking a step back, you know, take the step forward.
I'm gonna echo some of that as well. Just in the sense of being within an uncomfortable situation and relishing in that and kind of sitting with it and keep a positive mind and kind of seeing it through, and to do that in many different ways. But to describe it a little bit more, for example, was like when Tashawn was talking about, we kind of stayed in a lot of things, sorry, not a lot of things, a few choice places of the conversation. We kind of stayed on them a little bit too long.
Like, I will always treat them like people with respect, treat them as like, but I, as a woman, am no longer going to go out of my way to try to cultivate a like safe space for a man
Which is
when
sorry,
I lead with authenticity, respect,
Yep.
kindness,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, I'm going to just show up in the world as me, but I'm not putting my energy elsewhere where it doesn't, like, outside of myself and my, yeah, you have a question?
And as my job as one of the hosts is to be a person to notice those things, and to help the conversation progress outside of that, right? Or to move along from that. So I think that's one of the things that I've learned, even just watching it back and even being there presently. It was one of those things where like, damn, okay, I can see how this would play off and watch back. So it's time for me to be like, all right, I need to do better in just the hosting skill of it. I think that's one thing I learned. I think another thing that I could take away from it was honestly listening, right? Because I think in that episode specifically, I was kind of listening to respond.
Can I ask everybody's like relationship status? Like, we're talking about relationships where I don't actually know much about y'all.
But relationships don't have to be
100%.
Romantic.
something intimate. It could be a friendship we're talking
Platonic,
like, you know what I mean?
100%.
So
Which is where things
that's why
start.
I say that, because even we had a topic about, actually I want to open that up to you guys as well now that you say that.
Mhm.
We talked about women in friendships, right?
Okay.
And we asked our males.
Platonic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we asked males, do we treat our women friendships the way that we do our male friendships?
Okay.
Do you guys have that same type of feeling where you would treat your women friendships the same as you do your male?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, for the most part, for me, there's subtle differences, of course. Like, there's so many different type of men that I know that are in my life, but I have male platonic friends. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So I don't really treat them any different.
And I didn't want to step in your question, mind you, sorry, but
No, it's okay. I didn't know what you asked. I was like,
more so that you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, I know where this is going.
I respect that. I respect that you
So
said
you were
that.
ready.
I'm defending the man there, man. I'm not having this.
Because it came into a situation, I was like, yo, I was ready to listen to what women were saying, but as soon as it didn't go in the light that I thought it would, or in the light that I actually agreed with, it was like, oh, no, you guys can't represent us. Like,
That's why I said I took a step back, but I was looking at you like,
so it was like,
hold us down, Steph.
So when conversation was getting to a place I didn't respect anymore, I was like, oh, what you mean by that? So I started kind of like, sit up in my chair a little bit more. Now it looks like I'm kind of engaged, but engaged for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another example. But all in all, it was kind of that. Like I said, I'm trying to get better in even just the hosting area, but just even from a conversational point, listening. Actually, Imani said it in the episode. She's like, well,
what does that mean?
The double standards that benefit the women, they are absolutely leaning into.
But did you acknowledge what I just said before that?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I agree.
Because I think a lot of times when we have these conversations and the women speak on what I just spoke on, men are quick to rush to yes, and that's why women are. But let's let what I said sink in a little.
Let's just let this breathe for a second. I think I could do that a lot more, especially when somebody's point is going. I think it needs to sit a bit just for people to kind of understand it and process it, instead of me responding right away. So I think that's a couple things I took away for sure.
Go ahead. Want me to go? I think it's like kind of some of what you guys are saying. I've learned this in my coaching program. It's really about like leaning in with curiosity. I think like two things you said, like, yeah, listening's a skill and not one we're always trained to have, because in normal conversation, when people are talking, it's like we just respond right away. But really, when you're listening, there will probably be gaps. Like you'd be like, oh shoot, I never thought of it like that. And then you respond. But like what I found with that is we weren't really curious about where they were coming from. You know what I mean? And what they were trying to get at throughout that episode is maybe they weren't speaking for themselves, but they were speaking that for women out there that exist, that really have an issue with how men have treated them.
It's kind of like we're told that like we have to be careful, be cautious of how we speak to men because they're sensitive. So I have to be cautious because you're sensitive. So I can't
hear that one often.
I can't say certain things, right? Because you're gonna hold it in ego. But me, who is emotional, if you cheat on me, let's say, I have to get over it tomorrow. I gotta drop it right now. No, why are you putting your hand up? I'm emotional.
because
It's
How do I
not
word this?
fair.
How do I word this?
Women are expected to drop things and get over things quick, but you're
How do I word
sensitive and
this?
I can't say nothing.
How do I word this? Because you're correct in the framework of what you're putting down.
Okay.
No one has ever told you that you have to get over it.
What do you mean no one has ever told me? How are you telling
Who's
me
made that stance?
I hear that a lot. Even men, get over it. It's been a week. Get over it. It's been a month. Get over it. That was
Men
last
do-
year.
men do- men do say this.
As if last year wasn't just 12 months ago.
So I have a stance, and I'm gonna tell the world all this. If you choose to stay,
right?
yeah.
No, sweetie. Let me tell you
Why?
something. Let me say something
It
right
doesn't
here.
necessarily have to be cheating though.
It doesn't. It doesn't
What
just
does
have
that
to be
do?
cheating.
What does that have to do? Because that's the point you brought up. So
That's
those are
because
what I'm
that's a common one.
So that's the
a
only thing
common
I can
one,
argue.
right?
Well,
Okay, that's fine.
what you're saying is how a lot of men move in the sense of if you choose to stay, it's kind of on you.
So that's
which
where
I
I'm
think,
going off of right now. With
Yeah.
the you choosing to stay, there's an element that a lot of people are missing here.
Okay.
If I'm choosing to stay, right, that means you have to be patient with me while I'm unlearning your toxicity. And there's no patience there. I have to rush to get over it. The betrayal, the lies, the hurts, like, you know what I mean? But if I say, I don't know, I don't speak to men like that, but like say something that makes you feel belittled in your ego as a man. That's it. Some guys are holding on to some guys are holding on to their
I get it.
grade 4 girlfriend who cheated on her. Sir, you are 36.
But
And I felt like that needed room to breathe and room for us to accept, like, yeah, maybe those are not the women we have necessarily witnessed and come across and dealt with, but they exist. And it's like, how can we be better men so that we're better with those interactions?
All women.
All women, right? And I think what it speaks to is the fact that like they're coming with a truth. And even if the truth doesn't align with ours, we can still be curious to learn more about it. Because where they're coming from was a real place. And even though like our guests are not always going to agree with us, but that's okay. And what's interesting about even just us doing this whole podcast is that we're probably going to have a lot more disagreements than we're used to having. And now it's learning how to deal with them. How do you deal with conflict? Because like in my life, I don't really deal with a lot of conflict. This is probably the most conflict I've had is this podcast.
Yeah, week to week for sure.
But it's like learning how to manage that, right?
Yeah, like sorry to cut you off, but like what you're saying was, I think that's the reason why like I even took the step back. It wasn't necessarily not to argue, but it was like what they were saying I didn't agree with. But I should have asked questions like, why do you feel like that? And I just felt like, you know what? Steph's holding it down right now. So that's my fault. So sorry to cut you off there, Tashawn. You know, I just didn't want to slip my mind. And that's the reason why I really stepped back, because there was things that was being said where it was like, I personally don't agree with it, but I don't know what they were going through. So that's why I was like, you know what? When I'm hearing you say it from a different light, it was like, I should have asked more questions to know why they feel like that instead of saying, oh, you feel like that? Cool.
Yeah.
So I don't see what Tashawn just said when he said, okay, I see both. I don't see that.
Because I also think to his point, it's in your interest. Yeah, fact.
You know what I mean?
That's how you look at the chair.
You know what I mean? Because that's what was going through my mind, right? And it was like, we are here to understand and to learn. And at that point, I wasn't willing to understand because I heard something and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And just took the back seat instead of learning why she feels like that.
Yeah.
And just to quickly add to what Freck's saying, one question trick that I learned again in my coaching program is why can make people feel attacked? Like why? Whereas like what? Like what makes you think that? Or like how did you come to that conclusion? I want to hear Staasia has to say.
Like I understand it, like, but now it almost sounds like we are blaming, we don't have enough onus. Are we actually healing then? You know what I mean? Because like all men aren't the same. It's not every man at the end of the day. It almost sounds like we're giving up on partnership and on love because we've made a lot of bad choices to stay, or we really thought it was going to be, or here's the truth. Some niggas just ain't shit, or just some people are just shitty people. Like shitty people exist, right? But like we do get to a point where we do meet some people who aren't shitty, and you can still have what you want or what you know what I mean? Like I'm not in Korea. I'm not in, you know what I mean? And the way that they treat their partners, I've seen some of it, and it's
way different.
I can get it.
Yeah.
It's damn
From I can get it on that aspect. And sometimes women gotta rally and do what we gotta do. Nah, there's
And like you, I kind of faded to the back too. And I remember probably like 30 minutes in, I'm like looking around the room. I'm like, I wonder if they think I wonder if they realize I'm not saying anything too. But like I also felt like I didn't have anything valuable to say, and I've always been taught if you don't have something good to say, kind of don't say it.
Oh, they made that point though, where they said, "I like this one."
because he's listening.
He's listening.
But, and it's just well, anyway.
Can we cut to that?
I feel like you barely
informing
talk.
them. I'm informing them.
Listening to you guys,
Which I like.
I'm really listening to what you're saying and like letting it digest in my head and trying to see a different perspective.
I think more men need to be like him and just sit and not say nothing.
oh my gosh.
But to be like, I just didn't have anything to say. I also was listening too, but from what I learned from this is I think there's a clear-cut disconnect. I think that obviously as a guy, we see things one way and women see things another way. And I don't want to say it's our duty, but I think that we have to create a space where both can be heard, but in a way that's progressive and not like combative. And I think that's my takeaway from this. I think that we have to be able to curate a space where I'm not saying that they didn't feel safe, but a space for them to feel safer to give their opinions and for us to, like you said, listen and not respond. Why you look at me like that?
Oh, it's safe.
No. I don't mean like I don't mean like
I know what you mean, but
A safe
don't
space
use
for
that word.
coexistence. I understand what you mean.
yeah, not like safe emotionally.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Safe
feel you.
coexistence, bro. Like,
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like they're heard and like and we're heard. I think like I say this all the time. My favorite thing on this podcast is when we're learning something.
Mhm.
I don't think they learned anything. I don't think we learned anything. And
we did, just not in relativity.
Yeah, to the
conversation.
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what we always should stick on. Like we want our guests to learn, we want our audience to learn, and we want to learn most importantly. So
Oh man.
We gotta do it again.
100%.
We have to.
Running
have
it
to.
back.
Have to. Got better. It was practice.
Talking about practice.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's why that's important. Put shots up, come back, fix the form, put the elbow in. You know what I'm saying? But yes, again, we're here to give you guys everything that we have authentically. And let you guys know that even when we slip, we're trying to still allow you guys to see those things and to know that there's growth here. So again,
It's not a loss, it's a lesson.
yeah, not a loss.
All right. Juice came with some bars today. Huh?
Bars, bro.
Somebody
I
needs
stole that
to.
from you.
Brother, I'm trying to give you credit, dog.
You know what though? When things go wrong, that's where, like you're saying, that's when the growth really happens.
Yeah. Can't get no growth out of a win.
That's what
They say. Even though I don't agree with that one, we'll save that for another day.
you take an L. That's when you start tightening things up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we took an L in men's league. Now we're pointing at things. We gotta change things up.
Yeah.
Now we know. We just need some young legs, bro. Big man, we need you for like 3 minutes and we'll be back. Rate these up. Sometimes they take a little time, but it is what it is.
So
What is one thing you would tell your younger self? We should have just did a whole episode with these.
yeah, low key.
Where you going, still?
I thought I had it.
One thing I would tell my younger self would be, you're gonna be such a badass baddie. Like, keep going, babes.
Yeah.
Because being a younger, dark-skinned woman, right? Like, I watched like Raven Simone and I was like, oh my God, like she's that girl. And other than that, there were not many dark-skinned Black women that I saw in media. And you don't realize it until you're sitting in the theater at like 16, 18, 20 and you're finally seeing representation. And you're like, oh, wait. So this is like what everybody else is feeling like when you see someone that looks like you on the screen. So I think for me, like, seeing yourself is such a big thing, like in terms of being able to see like who you're going to become. And yeah, I would just be like, keep going, babes. You have a great personality. Don't worry, the looks will grow in.
Period.
And yeah, just really, really focus on like the things that you enjoy doing, because those are going to be the things that end up making you money and becoming your business, you know? Yeah. Like honestly, like starting out in media, like there are very few people who like looked like me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was just going off, you know, being confident and continuing, like, why not, you know? What I can tell, especially like obviously in more corporate spaces, like that's not necessarily, if I see myself as that person who could be on camera and hold on a mic, and you know, it's because I see it, but it's not something that other people might see, you know, or like, why her, you know? But I would just tell my younger self, keep going, you know, because like it's interesting because when I think of my life, there's not really anything I would go back and change. Like even when I've done crazy things, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't change it, because like it's made me a better person and it's taught me lessons. So yeah, I would tell myself, just keep going. Everything that you're doing and all the trials and tribulations are for a reason. That's it.
I would echo the same thing. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah. Come on, Miley Cyrus.
Everything.
It's always gonna be another
song?
mountain.
I didn't even know that.
It's The Climb. It's called The Climb. But anyways, go on.
Yeah, like all these things that you go through or have went through or you're gonna go through are gonna make you a better person. It's gonna teach you the confidence.
It's like choose your hard, pretty much. Like, facts.
I would say learn to love yourself, because it's not going to come from out there. And I think there was a lot of my life where I thought like getting the bag or getting all the girls was going to bring me happiness. And like going through that journey and learning that it's not that.
Like you can't be fulfilled by it, you mean?
Yeah, there's no amount of girls that you could sleep with or money that you could get that's going to make you feel complete or whole inside. And there's a time where I think I thought that. And I feel like, you know, I've watched people in my life ruin their lives in the pursuit of either money or women, because they didn't learn that, like, they didn't learn to love themselves and be whole within themselves. And I feel like if I told my younger self that, I feel like it would just be a strong reminder to live your life with more purpose.
I think mine's similar to that. It would be my younger self. I think it's like, don't just like believe you're loved, but know you're loved. Like know that. And like, because when you know you love yourself, it doesn't matter the thoughts that come to you from other people that were planted in your brain from family members or bullying or whatever, you start to believe them. But if you know you love, you're not going to believe them.
That's repellent,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I let a lot of, there was a point in my life where I let people's opinions and stuff kind of like, I started to believe it. And it's like, I let me spiral and do all those things. It's like, know you're loved. That's what I would go back and tell myself. Know that you're loved.
I think for myself, it would be live in the idea of do what makes yourself happy. I feel like a lot of times we are doing things that other people are directing us to do, things that they want for us, and we kind of take those things on. Or we start to do things that we think other people would think would be the best decision. You know what I mean? So I think that in of itself is something that I would tell my younger self for sure. Just kind of,
that's big.
Yeah, do for yourself.
Yeah,
that's big.
It was good that all you guys shared that. I really appreciate it. I get laughing, but mine would be take things serious. And for that, I say, like, for me, it was school. I didn't take school serious. I always just got by, especially when I got to high school. Like, I was the guy that played basketball for the school, so they didn't care how I did. They just passed me, right? But then there was one teacher that wasn't having it, right? So I had to take their class serious. I remember it was my science class. And then it's like, if you don't take it serious, you're going to fail. You know, when midterms come, what's this guy talking about? Whoa, this is serious, right? But that's what it would be. Just take school serious. Take things serious.
That's big.
No joke. I mean, anything to promote for you guys? Anything coming up that you guys feel like that you want to, push out there, let the people
Until
know.
it's done, tell none. I ain't got nothing to say. You can follow me on
Bar.
Instagram at Sleepless in Toronto with an underscore. And yeah, don't wait for the cosign. Be the cosign. Support.
Wow.
Whoever you see, you know what I mean? It's not always about you. And like, I retweet things and I share things that I know other people might like, even if I don't like it, So just open up. That's all.
I love
Mm-hmm. If you want to see a boss babe baddie do her thing, at IMAANIWALKER, Imani Walker. Find me on Instagram.
Period.
Follow me. I'm cool. Like, one thing about me is like, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're vibes, you're good vibes, you're good vibes.
Period.
Right.
Energy speaks for itself.
It really does.
In closing, we're learning. We hope you guys are too. And I hope you guys are here to support us through that, So if you're willing to do that, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Little button right here.
I like how you squeeze.
You know what I'm saying? Please do. You know what I mean? Like, comment, subscribe. Again, button here. So from us to you, we appreciate you guys. Thank you. We'll see you again.
Mhm.